And good afternoon. My name is Joe Bandel. I am the last Rosicrucian. Um, Today we're going to do a Gaia Ascension update, try to catch up on what's going on. Um, what I've found interesting is what I predicted 2 or 3 months ago is starting to happen on some other sites. So I'm going to kind of refresh or mention what I'm hearing or seeing these channeled sites talking about that I predicted would happen earlier, because I've been talking a long time about two things basically. One is that the root chakra and the root chakra energies, or the energies of survival, if you will, are going to be dominant for the next 2,000 years in this new age, and that everything's going to start working that way. The other thing that I've talked about is, well, in the importance of beginning to uh, work with the root chakra energy. Another thing that I mentioned several times in some of my posts was uh, about the earth connection, the Gaia, and that all life upon Gaia is ascending along with Gaia. And this is suddenly, just this past week, I'm seeing these uh, videos that are coming out, and they're saying pretty much the same thing. What are they saying? They're saying, well, what they were saying before was anchor the light, anchor the light, or reach up, connect to the light, anchor the light. And now there's a lot of uh, channelers that are, especially uh, these channelers that are channeling the Galactic Federation, for example. And what they're saying is anchor into the earth, put your roots deep into the earth, and not only put your roots deep into the earth, but draw energy from the earth itself instead of drawing energy from the light, drawing energy from the head. You're starting to see a lot of anchor deep into the earth and draw your energy from the roots. And you're also seeing a lot of channels about the importance of the animals. Don't forget the animals. Well, they've been forgetting the animals for the last 20 years. And now all of a sudden they're kind of catching on. They're kind of catching on that, hey, nobody's going anywhere until everybody goes. Everybody goes. This ascension is all life on Gaia. The good, the bad, the ugly, the animals, the plants. Everything's ascending. And it's not going to go until everything goes. And the Galactic Federation, if you will, finally is getting it through their head that they can't just take the cream of the crop. They can't just take their star seeds and leave. It's everybody's going. Everybody got to go. So what's happening is, and I'm paraphrasing this, whatever, but essentially what's happening is these entities that call themselves the Galactic Federation, for example, are changing their tune. And they're beginning to say things that I've been saying for years. They're beginning to say, uh, you got to deal with the shadow aspects of yourself. You got to purge the shadow aspect. Um, you got to transmute some of the dark energies that you carry. Um, so, if I can paraphrase again, I would say that for 20 years or so, everybody's kind of like, okay, the whole person is not going to ascend, or the whole soul is not going to ascend. Just the top three chakras, or whatever it is going to pop off, and you can leave everything behind. Everything else you can drop. You don't need to worry about it. All of a sudden, they're getting the message. They're realizing that isn't happening this time. What's happening this time is roots and all. Everything is lifting, everything is ascending. And let's get doing it. Another thing that's happening is that it's getting faster. Things are getting faster. Things are happening faster than anybody thought. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. But why is everything happening faster? Well, it's an um, interesting question. But when you think about it, and you think about the idea that there's no such thing as time, all there is the present moment. Well, then why would things be speeding up? Because the present moment is speeding up. Uh, because how I'm going to, this is what I kind of get. This is what I'm kind of thinking is that all of a sudden more of us know what we want to do. We know where we want to go. We know what we want to do. And we are setting our intentions to go there. And I'm going to give an example from my own point of view, whatever. Uh, Back in 1991, I crossed the great abyss. I merged with Source, and among other things, I had this vision of this timeline that was coming down. It was at that point, it was way up in the highest levels of the astral plane, which you would call the future. And over the years, I have watched that particular timeline come down, gradually come down, and it's basically been unchanged. One of the things you could possibly call it a divine timeline, or you could call it the ultimate timeline. I don't know what you want to call it. All I know is that I've been following this timeline, and it hasn't been changing. I haven't been changing timelines. I've just been on the same one, and it's come down, and it has encountered other timelines, and the other timelines have broken. And this one has shown no inclination of breaking. And the vision that I had of this timeline, it actually had, I could see the timeline, and I could see that there was like a couple seals, like coats of arms type of seals or whatever. For example, if you look up here on my video, you're going to see a symbol that I saw on the very highest level of that timeline. It belongs to what I call the order. I just I think of it the order, and I think of it as a special group of souls, if you will, that really operate at both the highest and lowest levels possible. And that they're having ultimate say on a lot of this timeline stuff. How can they have ultimate say on this timeline stuff? I believe because most of them are in physical bodies and they are entities that were here at the beginning of Earth. In other words, they're some of the original souls that started out as cellular life, trees, things like that, and they have uh, they've risen, but that they were part of Earth right from the very beginning. And the fact that they are in physical bodies right now means that they can, uh, they got the right to, it's not interference. If you take a lot of these ET extraterrestrial things and these channelings, and they're all saying that the extraterrestrials, the ETs, they cannot interfere in humanity's choice. Well, these souls that belong to that order, they can interfere because they're here. They've been here. They've been here all along. And some of them, they're very, very powerful. And they're here to ensure that Gaia ascends with all life. They're the premier guardians of Gaia and of all life and of her ascension. And they're not going to let it go wrong. Something comes up and it's not going to, they are the final players in the circuitry of how things manifest. Let's put it that way. But that's kind of neither here nor there, other than I bring that up, and I bring up that this order, group of souls, entities, I connected with, I belong to. It's part of my soul group, okay? And I think that that's a lot of why I get the information that I do get, is my association with that group. The thing is, and I never really understood this before, but immediately below that group in this timeline that I had a vision of was the Galactic Federation. And the Galactic Federation had their own seal. It was kind of a triangular type seal, if I remember right. But I recognized that seal too. And so it didn't dawn on me, but it's just recently dawned on me, okay, the Galactic Federation has an important part in this timeline. They are active, if you will, at a very important spot in this timeline. They're not just observers, even though they think they're observers. They need to get in and get some boots on, basically. Okay, and below them, there was just a space in the timeline that was dealing with just humans. They didn't seem to have any organizational group behind them. But even more interesting was, even lower than that were the animals. And I had, part of the vision was like a beaver building a dam and slapping some mud on the dam or whatever. And some other animals there, and that the animals had a say in Gaia's ascension. The animals had a say in this timeline. So I was looking at this timeline, and it included what I call the Order, it included the Galactic Federation, it included the humans, it included the animals. And it's just been recently that it finally dawned on me, hey, that means that I better start aligning myself with the Galactic Federation, because the Galactic Federation is a part of my timeline, or this timeline that I follow, that I belong to. And so I've been doing that. And as I've been doing that, I get a sense that as my path converges, as my timeline converges and merges with that of the Galactic Federation, things speed up. Because there's more energy. Instead of having a kind of a conflict, or maybe not even a conflict, but a disconnect, all of a sudden everybody's kind of getting on the same page. And when everybody's getting on the same page, things speed up. And that's what we're seeing, is things are speeding up because more and more people are getting on the same page. And when I suddenly see, and it was just this week that I really noticed it, and I'm suddenly seeing channeled messages from the Galactic Federation or the Council of whatever, or this or that, or something like that. What are they talking about? They're talking about, got to remember the animals. Connect deeply to the earth energy and draw that earth energy in so that you can heal that earth energy. In other words, deal with the shadow stuff. So it's happening. This is, how do I'm trying to say this. 30 years ago, 20 years ago, we'll say 20 years, everybody was saying the crown chakra, the crown chakra, the crown chakra. And then all of a sudden everybody was going the heart chakra, the heart chakra, the heart chakra. And then all of a sudden it's like the root chakra, the root chakra, the root chakra. Yeah, I part of that too. And now what's happening is they're talking about the animals, the animals, the animals. And they're talking about, instead of connecting to the way up here, connect to the earth. Sink your roots deep into earth. Draw the power from the earth. And why is that? Because Gaia herself is giving off energy now like she's never has before. And what happens is the Galactic Federation, if you will, finally got it through their head that, hey, everybody, all life has to go. All life is ascending. Let's all pitch in. Not only let's all pitch in, they're beginning to realize that they have to pitch in, that they have to take a different look at this non-interference concept that they're following, because, like it or not, they're already in it. They've already created consequences, and they're going to be creating more consequences. And okay, you can look at the powers that were trying to start World War III. It's not going to work. But what else are they trying to do? one of the things they're going to try to do is maybe stage a false flag event of a extraterrestrial invasion type of thing. And that's what I talked about last time. One of the last times I gave a video was that I'm sensing that in this term, the Galactic Federation being like the white hats or the good guys or whatever, they're going to be forced into showing themselves, forced into becoming more visible and declaring their own existence. That disclosure is happening, and it's going to be happening, that it is happening now, and that it is going to be happening with greater and greater rapidity or speed over the coming year of 2025. That's what I've spoken about. That's what I'm getting. And one of the things that really anchors it for me, cements it into place for me, is because of that vision of the timeline that had the Galactic Federation symbol or coat of arms, whatever you want to call it, insignia, I guess, as a seal upon it, which means they are part of the timeline. So it's no longer humanity's timeline. In other words, okay, the Galactic Federation, bless their hearts, they're the good guys here. They're generally speaking. And what are they talking about? They're talking about humanity's timeline, humanity's timeline. Now they're finally getting it. It's not humanity's timeline. It's the Order's timeline. It's the Galactic Federation's timeline. It's humanity's timeline. And it is the timeline of all living things on Gaia. That's the timeline that we're talking about. And that means all hands on deck, the Galactic Federation as well. So that is the change. I've tried to report on the state of Gaia's Ascension, the update, the energies, the different things like that. This is the big change. This is the change. It's kind of like, uh-oh, we're in it too. This is not just humanity's timeline. This is our timeline. This is the Order's timeline. This is all living things on Gaia's timeline. This is a lot bigger than what the Galactic Federation thought. And they're basically kind of caught with their pants down, and they're like, we got to get going. And because they're suddenly changing their understanding, things are speeding up even more. So that is basically what I was going to share for this update. I think it's kind of short and sweet. We are really, things are moving fast. The other thing I'm going to say, if there is only the present moment, if time doesn't exist the way that we think it does, or the way that, if it's really true that there is only the present moment, that means that that timeline can happen tomorrow. It can happen today. It doesn't need to happen 30 years from now. It doesn't need to happen whatever. It can happen at any time. And the, the deciding factor of when it's going to happen is how fast things are going. It's I can't put it into words really. It's really hard to talk about what the way that I envision it, but what I'm getting at is that as all the pieces fall into place, it gets faster. And what we're seeing is everything getting faster. And what's already happened has speeded up things far beyond what, for example, the Galactic Federation has thought would happen. You can look at some of these channelers and everything, and that's kind of what they're going to say. Oh, humanity is you've achieved so much, and you've shifted things so far, and you've raised the energy so much, a lot more than that you surprised us that you're ahead of schedule. Well, duh, that's what's happening. Everything's ahead of schedule, and it's getting a lot better. The best way that I've heard it is that um, you got some really old souls that have been out there, and they've said, "Hey, we're going to come in and we're going to help Gaia's Ascension along." And the original plan was it's going to take Gaia about 200 years. I'm making that number up, but several generations, 200 years before it really gets into the golden age. And you got all of this talent and all these old souls and all these experts. And they're saying, now that we're here, why don't we just get it over with? Screw it. Let's do it. And that's what's happening. That's what's speeding things up. Is people with boots, is these entities, these ancient souls with boots on the ground that are going, I'm tired of this shit. Let's just do it. So just that's my thoughts for the week, for what it's worth. Uh, Thank you very much. See you next week. Bye.